Who doesn't love a nice big butt? Pork butt. Hey y'all, we're gonna be making smoked pork butt today. Pulled pork. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, a little groggy. We'll get coffee going here in a minute, but right now, let's get this thing seasoned and on the smoker. Then I'll explain a little bit more. Who doesn't love a good pork butt? All right, so to get this thing going, we're gonna go with a cup of brown sugar. I've also got some Kinder's. I got about a 1/4 cup worth of Kinder's butter rub in here, and then we're gonna go into about 1/3 of a cup worth of salt. This is just normal iodized salt. You could use sea salt. You could use whatever salt you want. For this, I like using iodized salt. It's just a personal preference. I do use sea salt for most other things, but whenever I'm making a rub, I like to use just this normal iodized salt. So that's gonna go in there, and then to that we're gonna add 1/3 of a cup of black pepper. This is coarse black pepper. That's gonna go in there like that, and I like to add paprika and chili powder. We're gonna give that a good mix around. I just get my fingers in there, get them dirty. Well, actually I'm wearing gloves today. It's kind of a new thing. I haven't really done gloves in the past. I just got my hands dirty and washed my hands a lot. But I'm gonna be cooking this beautiful pork butt for my wife's family. Is all in from all over the country. So I volunteered to cook tonight, and I thought, well, let's do some barbecue. So I'm making barbecue. And what I like to do is I'll just take a little pinch of my rub. I think we need a little bit more brown sugar in that, but it's really close. That's money. Little sweet, or it's sweet, little salty. You get that pepper. I mean, you're not gonna wanna eat this handful after handful. It is the seasoned meat, but the end product is gonna be very good. So what I do is I usually go with a mustard base, and this is gonna help as a binder. It's gonna allow that seasoning to just stick to your pork butt. So we're gonna do a mustard base, nice and liberal. It's not gonna taste like mustard whenever it's all smoked. This thing is gonna spend between 12 and 14 hours in the smoker. So it's gonna sit out in the smoker for a long time. It's gonna help break down those mussels and really help that seasoning to stick. And it won't cover up the flavor. It's not going to cover up that flavor of the pulled pork or the seasoning, but it's gonna allow it to bind, and it also helps with the cooking process and allows that really pretty bark. You guys will see here in a little bit. But just rub that all over. What I'm gonna do is take off one of my gloves to help apply the seasoning. The other glove I'm gonna leave on, so that way I can help smooth it over. And I go very liberal with this. You're not gonna over season it. This is a big chunk of meat. This is big muscle to be coating. So you want it to be big and bold on the outside, so that way those flavors will penetrate to the inside. And I don't have one of those fancy smokers, the pellet smokers that I can just set it and walk away. Mine's old school charcoal smoker, and it does a fantastic job. One day I want to get one of those charcoals or the pellets, but for right now I am very happy with my charcoal smoker. and we're just kind of scooping up the edges with the stuff that fell onto our cutting board. And I'm going to be doing 2 of these today. This one is probably big enough to feed the whole family. Actually, we might just do one. Today we're also going to be making a barbecue sauce and some coleslaw, and we're just going to make all the fixings for a good barbecue. Now let's get our pork in. Fat cap up. We're going to be using applewood today to smoke this. I think applewood is one of my favorite woods to use whenever smoking. So we're using applewood today, and won't be long, this thing is going to start roaring some smoke. Alright, so what goes good with pulled pork? Barbecue sauce. You gotta have barbecue sauce. So we're gonna make our own barbecue sauce right now. So we're gonna start off with, this is a ketchup based barbecue sauce. There are tons of different sauces out there. If you don't like the way that this one looks, just look up another one. I'm telling you though, this is good. So we're gonna start off with 1 thing of ketchup. Now I'm gonna empty this whole thing of ketchup in. I promise you by the end, it does not taste like ketchup. It tastes like really, really good barbecue sauce. If you like a sweet sauce, this is going to be a sweet sauce. You can make this spicy. It would be a spicy sweet. This isn't just like a Kansas City style hot barbecue sauce. But we're just going to make it a sweet sauce because we got little ones running around and they're not going to handle the heat. Sometimes I'll make 2 sauces. Today I'm only gonna make the 1 though, so might as well make one that everybody can deal with. So to that, I'm gonna add equal amount of Dr. Pepper. I pour the Dr. Pepper inside the ketchup, so that way, 1, I know it's equal amounts, and 2, it helps to get the last little bits of the ketchup off of the bottle. Because we're going to reuse this bottle. As soon as this recipe is done and it cools, we're going to put it right back inside this ketchup bottle, and that's how we're going to transport it and store it. Real easy, that way you don't have to mess up more than 1 thing. You've already got the bottle, you're going to throw it away, might as well use it. So, now this is going to go into the sink, we're going to clean it up, and like I said, this is going to be what we use later. Alright. Now we've got those 2 things in there. We're gonna add a little bit of mustard. You're gonna add probably about 4 tablespoons worth of mustard. I just eyeball it because I've been making this sauce for a long time. We're gonna do about the same amount of liquid smoke, so give it that nice smoky flavor. And you're gonna do about a ½ cup worth of Worcestershire sauce. About 2 tablespoons worth of paprika. Alright, so now that all that's in there, we're going to whisk this all together. And it's going to look weird at first. But like I said, like I promised before, this is going to taste amazing whenever it's all done. So now we want to sweeten it up. We're going to add about a 1.5 cups worth of packed dark brown sugar. And we're going to add about a 1/4 cup worth of honey. Turn your heat up, and you want to bring this to a boil, and then once it comes up to a boil, you're just going to turn it down and let it simmer. And about once an hour, once every 30 minutes, come through, stir it. It can be done as soon as it comes up to a boil, and it reduces down a little bit, probably take about 30 minutes or so. But I like to let it go for hours. I like to let it really thicken up, and then it becomes that real sticky,
delicious, tasty kind of barbecue sauce. So I let mine go for hours. This is gonna go for probably about 4 hours total. So to give you guys an idea of what this is gonna kind of look like as you get going, it's gonna look something like that. Now as it goes, it's gonna get darker, and it's gonna get thicker, and it's gonna get tastier. So I'll see you guys back here in just a little bit. So our pork butt has now been on the smoker for roughly 5 to 6 hours. I wanted to get it up to a temperature of 165 before I brought it in to wrap it. We've hit 165 degrees. The reason we do that is that way that bark will help to seal everything in. There's something magical about that number. I don't know the full science behind it, but it works. So we hit 165, I brought it in, I got my tin foil laid out, and you're also gonna wanna use some butter. I'm gonna be using a full stick of butter. As soon as I put my pork butt on here, we're gonna use a full stick of butter, spread it out throughout, wrap it up nice and tight. Then I'll put another layer of tin foil around it, wrap it up one more time, and we'll throw it back into the smoker and let it go. At this point, if you wanted to, if you didn't want to keep using the smoker, you could just heat up the oven to about 250-ish and let it go in the oven. It's no longer going to be pulling any smoke or anything like that, but I don't want to heat up the house any more than I have to right now. So we're just going to use the smoker. We've already got it hot. I've got charcoal. We're just going to use it. Here is our pretty pork butt. That got that nice bark on there. That's not burnt at all. That is just bark. It's just part of the smoke and the caramelization of those sugars. Turn it dark. It's not going to taste burnt whatsoever. It's going to taste delicious. Now, before I put the butter on, I'm going to spray it down one more time with the apple juice that we've been spraying on all morning long. Just get it all the way around there. It's going to help keep it moist. It's got a lot of moisture inside of it already. All those fats are starting to render, but I like to add just that last little bit of apple juice. I think it helps it out. So I mentioned the butter a few minutes ago. I'm going to put the butter on like this, just all over the place. I mean, mostly you want it on top because it is going to run its way down, but it's not going to hurt anything. If you wanted to put it over on the side, front, back, whatever, just as long as you get it on there. You might think it's a lot of butter, but let's be honest. If you're trying to eat healthy, you're not trying to eat barbecue, especially if it's really good barbecue. So I don't care. Let's throw this on here. I have it. Let's use it. If I had butcher paper, I'd be using butcher paper right now, but I don't have any butcher paper, so I'm gonna use tin foil. This ought to work out great. I've done it like this for years. I've only been able to do it one time with butcher paper. I really ought to get some more, so that way I have it on hand. But this is gonna go on just like that. And I like using these aluminum trays. I'm gonna pop that right down in there, and we're gonna slide it right back in the smoker. Now, if you don't want to use the smoker, you can set it up just like this, so that way no drippings will end up on inside your oven, and just leave it right inside this pan. Slide it in the oven, like I said, about 220 to 250, somewhere in there, and you're gonna be good to go. See you guys here in a bit. All right, so we have finished smoking. We pulled it out. We let it rest for an hour or a little bit more. It's still warm, but you want to let it rest for that time, so that way all those juices soak back up into the meat. You'll end up with dry meat otherwise. So I'm gonna unwrap it. So after it's unwrapped, you should be able to just grab a hold of this bone and pull it out clean, like that. And it's still very hot, so. Just gonna set this bone aside. And it's sitting in a lot of its juices right now, so I'm just gonna kind of shovel it over to the serving platter that we're gonna use. And from here, all I'm gonna use are 2 forks, 2 big forks, and shred it apart. You can use your hands if it's cool enough, or if your hands are heat resistant enough, just use your hands and you can sit there and pull it apart. And I might pour a little bit of this jus inside there after I shred it, but I'll let you guys know how all the reactions are. So here's the spread that we got. Got some baked or barbecue beans. Here's the pulled pork that we've been smoking all day. Some coleslaw and a little bit of salad. And the homemade barbecue sauce that we made. So once everybody digs in, I'll show you some reactions. Do you approve, Bubba? Is that good stuff? It's smeared all over you. It must be good. What do you think?
Fantastic. I think it's great. Yeah.
The wife
I want
approves.
more.
The wife approves.
Yep, and the